Hi, this is Kathy Kolb with a video podcast about a Google Chrome operating system and what it means. Boy, that's a lofty title, isn't it? Google had an event, a launch for their Chrome operating system last week, and they have a pilot program with the CR48 test units. And then it's expected that consumer lines from Acer and others will be out mid-2011 for this netbook OS. And so, as I was watching the videos on the Google Chrome has a great YouTube channel. And so I was watching those, listening to them last week, and letting this sift through my mind because I just couldn't understand it, what it meant. And then I went to the Google Chrome browser web app store at chrome.google.com/web store. And that didn't make sense. So I made sure that my Google Chrome web browser was up to date. And I downloaded some apps and I started playing with them. And again, trying to figure out, what is this about? I mean, browsers have had extensions for years. Web browsers have had extensions for years so that you could play different video formats and things like that. Why now do we need a web app store? And so that's what was going through my mind last week. And over the weekend, I think I figured some things out, and that's what this video is about to share with you. Okay. So, the Apple iPad, very popular. I got one for my mother, and it's a real hoot, that iPad. And of course, the iPhone, both have app stores, very strong app stores, of course, through iTunes. And so we've been used to that model. Apple introduced through iTunes the idea that you can go to this store, you can browse this store on your device through iTunes and purchase apps, applications, of course, music, content, books, but also apps. Programs that had functions, math functions, database functions, graphic functions, apps, applications, apps. Okay, so we were doing okay with that with the iPad, the iPhone, and then the iPad. Okay, that made sense. Okay, now why then Google? Of course, we know that Google has two operating systems they're developing, and of course Android is the mobile platform expected to support multi-touch in the Honeycomb release. Upcoming Honeycomb release, and the Samsung Galaxy tablet, very popular. One of the only alternatives to the touch alternatives to the iPad. Okay, so we know about the mobile platform that Google has is Android, and then they come out with this Chrome OS. So it gets a bit confusing because their browser's name is Chrome, based on the popular WebKit engine, but with some really neat features, and the functionality of it is great, and the quickness, the speed of it is awesome. One of the things they announced last week was a 50x increase in speed for the JavaScript engine. Just phenomenal for the Google Chrome browser. Okay, so now the Google Chrome browser has a web app store. What are these apps? So I downloaded some apps. I downloaded Aviary. the image processing program. Aviary also has some music creation apps, a sequencer app. So some cool stuff there. Vector imaging app, neat stuff. I downloaded a SEO, search engine optimization app for the Google Chrome browser. A couple of other things, a diary app. And I tried them out over the weekend. And here's what I think. And of course, the Google Chrome OS is Linux-based, Linux core. But it is streamlined. Everything is for the web. And when you think about it, Microsoft Windows was started decades before the internet. And so here's the first post-internet operating system, you could call it that. Yeah, you could argue that the iPhone and the iPad were the first post. So this is a post-internet operating system platform. Really streamlined for the web, targeted for the web. Comes with Wi-Fi, of course, built in. But also, every Google Chrome OS device is supposed to have a 3G chip in it. And so Verizon gives you 100 megabits of data, free data a month. 100 megabits. I know, not much, but if you have to, of course, I have Wi-Fi at home, Wi-Fi in most of the places I go. Most schools have Wi-Fi, Starbucks and McDonald's and all that, Wi-Fi, restaurants, Wi-Fi, libraries, Wi-Fi. But if you find yourself that you have to send that email, 100 megabits a month is pretty nice. You could turn off your images in your web browser and, not do any video, YouTube watching and Netflix, and, you could do okay as far as email and stuff. You can keep in touch. And then they'll have data plans, for additional data. So this unit is really, really, really expected to have a net connection all the time. All right. So what does this all mean? Here's what I think it means. I think it means that web pages and their functions, their abilities, their capabilities have grown, increased, so much so that they now rival desktop apps. You could say in 6 months they'll rival, or in 12 months. You could say that. They're going to. I'm going to say that. They're going to rival. And the power behind this is a couple of key elements. First is HTML5. It's not adopted yet, but it's well on its way, and a lot of the functions have already been adopted by major browsers, Firefox, Chrome, some in IE. And in my opinion, Microsoft is so far behind the development on this that it's pitiful. It's a shame. Okay, so HTML5, the web coding language behind Internet Web Display. HTML5 still in development, but as it gets further along in development, and it might be a year or two till it gets adopted, is changing our landscape here, our computing landscape, dramatically. HTML5, cascading style sheets, CSS is the abbreviation, and jQuery, very compact, very functional library that a lot of websites use. Those three elements are coming together, and have been together for some time, are developing together to be a powerhouse of function and display, to rival now desktop apps that used to be programmed, through C++ and other things, and major efforts for programming this stuff is now being done and will continue to be done, and will avalanche, I think. Development is in HTML5, cascading style sheets, and jQuery. That's what I think the web app store is about. Of course, Google now has the web app marketplace, so that some apps are free and some you have to pay a couple of bucks for. And so the payment channel is in place. That's the other really powerful thing. Right now, some of those apps are just bookmarks, but some of them are actual apps. Like if you look at that SEO, I forget which one it is. I think it says SERP on a SERP. If you look at that, it's doing nice things there. That's not just a bookmark. That's some good intelligence going on behind the scenes there to get some good reports and some good intelligence that you don't have otherwise. So that's built on the power of HTML5, CSS, and jQuery. So that's my take on what happened last week as far as the Google Chrome OS, Google Chrome Web App Store or Web Store, and its importance. To me, as a web developer, it's great. It continues to define the development of function and presentation and display of the information and data to people through the web browser, which is where we work, where we develop, and using these common, very accessible tools of HTML5, CSS, and jQuery. I'm very excited about what this could mean for computing, for distribution of computing applications, and I'll leave you with one last thing. Someone mentioned that, of course, you get a Windows computer and it just gets slower. 6 months it's slower than when you got it, and then in a year it's a lot slower than when you got it. Chrome OS might actually be the opposite. They do the updates that filter through the systems, through the internet, and it updates itself, and you don't need to restart your computer, and it's just so wonderful compared to Windows and Windows updates, and it's a mess. Fast. Find the app you want, download it, install it, bam, you're operating. It's huge. I think it's a very good step forward for computing. So that's my take on the Google OS Chrome and the Google Web Store. Thanks. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. I welcome them. Bye.